All right, good start for the week. And another great start for the week is our friend Thomas Mellon. How are you, Tom?
Hi, I'm doing good, thank you. How are
Uh,
you?
uh, Good, buddy. So here we are. Lots happened since you and I last talked, right? Um, Tariffs, tension,
Yeah,
big stock market sell-off, huge recovery.
yeah.
What are you thinking on this Monday morning?
Yeah, many things. I maybe we could start with the US growth,
Okay.
actually, if
All
you
right.
don't mind. Okay, just
Okay. All
um,
right. Let's talk about it.
someone else is sharing. I could share some.
Oh, you want to share? Go ahead.
Yeah,
All right. Got it. That was me.
no problem. Uh,
Are
yeah.
we in a recession in the U.S. already? Some
Let's
say
return to
no.
this. Let's return to this.
Okay.
The first quarter GDP nowcasts were like all over the place. This is a listing of the three major US the Federal Reserve banks and us. The last estimates on the 29th of April. And the figure was minus zero point 0.3. And we had the closest zero point 0.4. So we won.
Okay. Nice.
So yeah, but the thing is that if you look at these like New York Fed, St. Louis Fed, and Fed of Atlanta,
Right. That was
does
down
does that
four.
make yeah, does that
Yeah.
like that doesn't make any freaking sense. What's the like it's 4.5% percentage points is the gap. It's unbelievable. It should not be like this.
Okay.
So
All
this
right.
is well, this is yeah, this is a this it was been a it has been a very strange quarter, or it was, and there was this massive like front running of tariffs with the U.S. Trade balance falling to lows we haven't seen, well, basically almost forever.
Yeah.
So, so there
Yeah.
was this, yeah. So, and the markets dropped like we actually had warned that they would probably drop in April, and then recovered.
Yeah.
And
It's like it was a dream
yeah, but it also does not make any sense
for the
because
recovery.
yeah, because we are anywhere you look, recession. It says recession basically is coming. So markets are rallying for why? So I think there is liquidity being pumped into the markets from somewhere,
Okay.
at least from China. So
Okay. Well, the Fed said when the bonds were under pressure during the crash, where they were still selling off,
mhm,
instead of getting a bid, and TLT went to 85. I think it was 2 weeks ago on a Wednesday. The
mhm,
Fed came out with a statement, we will provide liquidity, and
yeah,
it stopped the hemorrhaging in the bond market.
yeah,
So the
basically.
bond market's a bigger problem than the stock market, isn't it?
Of course, of course. If bond markets start to act, then we're screwed. Everyone is screwed. So
You
it's not.
think the Japanese, you think any of our, I mean, I heard Japan walked it back, but they were going to use their $1 trillion holding of treasuries as as a negotiating
We of course do.
tool.
We don't know what's happening in the background in the
No, we
negotiation.
don't. No, we're
But
blind.
like yeah, but the people what people should understand that treasuries are used as collateral in the financial sector all over the world,
Right,
everywhere. So
right.
if those collapse, well, everything goes almost.
Okay.
So
So be taking
so
it would just be taking the US down,
no,
be taking
and
everything down. It's a nuclear
every
option.
well, basically yeah, and President Trump enacting trade war in a massively like well, let's say heavily matured economy, which haven't has seen an actual recession since 2009, and now you put a trade war in it. It's not a it's policy only made to crash the economy.
So is this intentional?
I don't know. I don't know, but it's just
Are you as happy as you were after the election?
no, no. The two reasons we go to the next one yet, but I have the consumer confidence. You have everybody has seen it. This is a collapse.
Yeah,
But this unique expected change in prices during the next year of the
yeah,
mean of it, the household, this is bollocks.
yeah.
Honestly, this is like, and people are saying there is no inflation. Okay, okay, and inflation is coming down. I said, okay, but what are these people seeing?
Who are these people? These are households.
Households, yeah.
Yeah.
But
So
you
they're
see,
seeing it in their everyday life of shopping and everything like that.
yeah, they see it, and the thing is that when they think like this, they are gonna save. They like
Yeah,
buy what they need now, and then they stop.
right,
And so the U.S. corporations and U.S. households have probably been front loading.
right.
So
But
this
yeah,
this
now they're broke.
yeah, and we will see something of a bounce this quarter. That's almost certain because some of the front loading goes away. In tariff,
Yeah.
the trade balance improves. But the third quarter, that's the quarter when the U.S. recession is likely to begin. So
Okay.
it's just one quarter
That's
away.
okay. That kind of gives me, I've heard, I know guys that use cycles and so forth, and a lot of people like that believe that the stock market bottomed and that we're going to new all-time highs. They're
No.
talking about
Well,
it holding together until August, the
if
market,
well,
and making new highs.
yeah, it's possible if Beijing and U.S. Well, Federal Reserve and U.S. Treasury, pump liquidity in the bond markets to buy stuff.
Yeah.
So it is possible.
Well, what do you make out of? Isn't that what the Treasury Secretary said? I think a week ago that the Treasury is ready to buy bonds.
Yeah, to adjust the buyback program. How was the actual wording? Yeah,
Okay, so
but
buy more, but support the market. In
yeah,
other
they,
words.
they they are they are preparing for a catastrophe. That's basically the only way to read it.
Okay, yeah, that's what I said. What they worried about when I
Well,
heard that.
yeah, and I think now that the President Trump is actually losing control of all the events in the world now as we speak. I
Yeah,
think
Russia.
Russia, Ukraine,
Yeah,
Iran.
yeah.
I don't, there are a lot of speculation of how close Houthis were sinking an U.S. aircraft carrier in the Red Sea last week. Wild speculations I have heard that
Like
yeah. Well, if
like what? It was a false flag. It didn't happen.
no, but it did happen, but
Okay,
it was avoided by in a very with a very small margin.
okay.
And if a U.S. aircraft carrier is sunk in the Middle East, what will happen next?
Yeah.
So, and if there is a war in the Middle East, then we go to economic depression.
All
Honest,
right. Well, how does Pakistan and India fit into the, this came out of nowhere. I
yeah,
mean, historically, it's always been there,
yeah.
but we didn't have that incident of those people getting killed, and now India's diverting rivers, and everyone's trying to calm them down. And even people are lining up. China is lining up behind Pakistan. I
Mhm.
don't know where we stand, but uh, they have nukes.
They have, yeah. And if India is trying to become the new China as a manufacturing hub, this is not really, you know, uh,
It's not good for them.
no, it's not spreading confidence. Yeah, let's
Yeah.
move our factories to, India, and what's the
Yeah,
nuclear?
I mean, Apple, that's where they want to go, and now it's
Mhm.
on the verge of conflict.
Yeah.
But I heard the Chinese were not the parts they need to reshore in India are made in China, and China's in no hurry to provide those
No, probably
to
not.
Apple.
Yeah, probably.
So besides gold, what do we do here? Just is it time to move into other commodities like oil?
No,
Oil's
I don't know.
pretty cheap.
No, I don't. The everything with the oil, everything depends now. What happened? What Israel and the Trump plan to do or
Yeah,
will do in
yeah,
there. So it's a I don't know because if nothing happens there, but there's a recession, so that means that the oil will go down even further.
yeah,
So
right.
you have it can go to even 30 or 20.
Yeah.
Or then it in the worst in the other way it can go to 200. So you can if you
We
want
have
to play in
everything's
the casino,
binary.
well, yeah,
Everything.
yeah,
Yeah.
basically no. If you and if you want to play in a casino, then oil is a. I think it's a it's a great speculative bet now. You can lose again a lot. So if you
Yeah,
want
you
to
could buy
play,
options like I did and just
yeah,
lose to find them out.
that's
Do you think Israel's going to hit them after the airport got hit?
I don't know. Yeah, it was a
Everything's I don't know. Let me
yeah.
ask you this. How comfortable do you feel saying these words that people choke on X? I don't know, and I was wrong.
Well, yeah, you have
You,
to say
I've
those.
never heard
You
you
have
be
you no.
uncomfortable.
Well, you have to say those occasionally because
Yeah.
everybody's wrong
How
occasionally.
about I'm always wrong?
No, I won't
Anyway,
go there. No, no,
I'm
no.
always early. Anyway,
No, but
so
honestly, I would hold just gold and cash till let's say
yeah, yeah,
June, late June, early July, just to see what happens.
yeah,
You
yeah. I
you may
think
miss
yeah,
the rally, but if Warren Buffett is still building cash reserves, you may want to
yeah.
try.
Oh, yeah. I mean, look, he missed maybe a year or so of the bull, but
Yeah.
when I knew he was real, I knew he was shedding Apple stuff, but it was before the crash where I read that he liquidated all ETFs, which that meant he wasn't just worried about a company. He got out of his exposure out of the S&P,
Yeah.
and that meant he was bearish everything.
Yeah.
So anyway, it's going to be some great trade. There have been great trades. The short was great. The recovery was great.
Mhm. Mhm.
Um, what do you think of the dollar? It's bouncing a little bit. You think the dollar has a long way to fall?
It
And
could. Also, it could. It could. The problem is now that we are, like you said, we are in a binary world and we are driven by these, I would say, rather erratic decisions in
yeah,
White House and in Europe.
yeah,
So there's like in everything almost there are two extreme options or good or bad. And we at this point it's almost impossible to see what will come. We just have to usually I would I would say that it's usually the way that Warren Buffett is doing, prepare for the worst. Because the biggest like gains are done or are achieved in and around crisis.
yeah,
So in those times you make the biggest profits, either when they fall and or when the markets start to rise. So yeah, so like if you want to play short, then historically for the past 10 years there has been a major liquidity injection coming from China in May and June. And I just estimated it few days ago when it would hit, and it looked at around 20 May. It has
yeah,
usually appeared in the markets. And after that, a rally has resumed, which has continued till the end of June. So we may get a summer rally. But then in
okay.
July and June, if in June there are both the tariff deadline and the deadline also for the Iran nuclear deal. So
In June or July?
in June.
July, isn't it April? We delayed it 90 days, April,
Oh yeah, that's
from
July.
April
So
9th.
again, June and July. Yeah, that's true. Yeah,
Yeah,
June
July.
and July. But there could
Yeah,
be a really toxic combination for the markets and for the world in coming
Yeah.
in summer. So
Okay.
I don't.
So where do you think uh what do you think Putin does? Just continues the war? You think he's picking out other targets, or
No,
his military isn't in the position to
let me have what I
expand?
wrote today. Just give me a sec there. This has been just like I just published it a few hours ago. So
Oh,
though this is on the my current thinking that President Trump is failing in Ukraine.
yeah.
There's an interesting, well, well, this first, the president, how I define the position of President Zelensky. He is corrupted. Almost everyone knows that. But I think what I heard from professors who study Ukraine is that these fascist factions there, if Zelensky tries to make peace or concessions to Russia, he will probably get murdered, or that at least there's a military coup. So he cannot do it. And thus, the only way to end the war is either President Trump or President Putin remove Zelensky and these fascist factions from Ukraine. And it's the strangest thing, like these fascist groups, they were all like decimated after the Second World War in everywhere in Europe except in Ukraine. It's really strange. And I heard about this, that there are these factions only just like 2 months ago or something. But the
Oh,
point being now that President Trump does not doesn't seem to want to remove or oust Zelensky. He made a deal. So what's the option? The option is that Russia declares war on Kiev and goes all in basically. That's
okay. I read that they're getting a dome, Kiev, so they must be worried about it. Like like the
yeah,
Patriots, like
yeah,
what Israel has.
yeah, 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 yeah.
So that's a little change of heart for Trump.
Yeah, it is. And this is actually, this is rather interesting. This is just I noticed today. This is one Russian war blogger which I follow. He has been correct on almost everything and excellent. It's a simplicious thinker. But anyway, this is the graph of area captured by Russia in each month. And you notice it reaches a peak in November when Trump won the US presidential election. Then comes down till February and starts to pick up again in March and April. I'm reading this in a way that in November, Russia thought that, okay, now there is Putin thought that there's a possibility of peace through negotiations. And in March, when basically the well the already failed or before already failed a truce proposition was presented in the Russian counterpart in Jeddah in Saudi Arabia. It's just I think the Russians lose faith, lost faith, and now it's picking up again the territorial gains of Russia. And I think this is an implication that or this hints that Moscow is transferring from the idea that they could find a peace through negotiations to that they need to seek peace through capitulation of the Zelensky
Yeah.
regime.
Okay.
And if we go there, that's it. That's also not a good thing. But I think it's better than let the war just go on because the longer we have a kind of regional war in Europe, the higher the likelihood that it will spread. It will become a continental war, which if Europe gets or falls into a war, the rest of the world will follow. We know that.
Yeah.
So yeah, so this is like I don't. The first they usually say that the first 100 days are worst for any president. And it seems that it holds also for President Trump, who has now the second term after a pause. But it's not looking good. And in all of this, when you look all of this, what's happening, I still keep advocating for gold. I think if if these like now we have these trends which are converging to a place where we would have a depression and a wider war in the worst case in the Middle East. I think in that case gold will go simply through the roof to 5,000 to 6,000 even.
Okay.
So you see,
Yeah, good.
cash and gold and oil and weapons and ammunition and food and water. And, yeah, okay. But
Yeah.
yes, yeah,
So you have to be a preppy in this environment.
yeah. You have
Yeah.
to. You have to. And like in you, do you
You
know?
know what I wanted to ask you, Thomas? I'm
Oh,
glad it came back into my head, and that's why I interrupted you because I would forget it.
okay. Just,
The
just,
power outage in
yeah.
Spain and Portugal that they're blaming on a lack of energy because it was coming from green energy. Do you buy that?
No, I seen the report, the leak report of
I'm
the.
was that a test to see how the populations would respond to
It is
2 days
possible.
without power? Huh?
It is possible, but it also showed the instability they have built into our network through the introduction of renewables into it. You know
Was
what?
it a cyber attack though?
But everything I have seen, it doesn't look like that. It is
Huh.
just when there is a spike from, let's say, renewables into the electricity grid. I read this from one of the analysts who has.
ForexScale says false flag trial run.
It could be. It is very much possible. But the interesting thing is that how they can complete or make the grid failure happen. And it's just they remove enough. What's the English word? Well, power factories you can drive down. And if there's a
Okay.
spike coming from renewables, from sun, from wind, whatever, which the rest of the system cannot absorb, the factories, the grids are going to shut down. So
Yeah.
they basically, if this is a false flag or a just an operation to shut down the grid, they show how they will do it. So the renewables are the way to crash our electricity grids. And we were back 10 years ago, we were doing electricity price forecast for some Finnish firms, and I made a lot of the energy or the manager of energy factories, and I remember a few of them warning that the renewables will make our electricity grid unstable. So we
Yeah.
are there, and you have to prepare also for the failure, of the electricity grid. And it's just
Okay.
simply and this is the order of things you need to have. First, you need to have water, then you need to have cash, then you need to have light, then you need to have heat if possible, and then food and other stuff after that. But you
Yeah.
have to make sure that you have water and you have cash because nothing works and you still have to buy stuff
Yeah.
unless you live in the woods. But
Where you go hunting.
yeah, you go hunting and you probably have your ground cellar full of, every
Yeah.
kinds of goods. But that's how
Right.
you need to have water and cash basically and
Okay.
light if it's summer, if it's winter. So people,
And you're better off with smaller denomination bills, right?
yeah, smaller, under 50, either
Yeah.
euros or dollar.
Because you'll end up, no one will have change. You'll just be
Yeah,
overpaying for
yeah.
everything.
You have to have small denominated bills.
How about silver coins if they're worth,
Well,
$50?
if you have to move your possessions, then those are good things that
Well, cash is a possession too.
yeah, yeah. But if you have to, I mean, if you have to move from your home to other location, then you silver coins are good because you can pay a larger sums with those, and
Yeah.
so.
Okay. Anyway, when's this going to happen? By the summer
I would if something
or
comes,
the fall?
I would say fall.
Okay.
if something comes. But and this is, you have to remember, I think I said this before, European wars have always started between 22nd June and 1st of September. So when
Okay.
you enter that period, it's always a risk that there's a bigger war engulfs Europe.
Okay. There's
And
a lot
this
of things pointing towards that time frame. June,
it is,
July, a lot of
and there,
cycles.
yeah, yeah, those, and then there's a kind of reports, rumors from here and there that Russia is preparing for something major. Like there would be over 200,000. I just read that there would be over 200,000 North Korean troops already in around Ukraine. So if they're gonna crash, if they're gonna like across the Zelensky regime, it will be a brutal few months.
And
And
like try and overrun the Ukrainian army into
yeah,
Kiev.
yeah.
Yeah.
But the thing is that when there was a massive Russian offensive or Soviet offensive in the summer of 44 between the war in a war between Finland and Soviet Union, our leadership then understood that okay, we cannot take this anymore, and they capitulated before the whole country was lost.
Yeah.
I think that's
I saw a
the
movie about a guy who there's a movie out, Thomas, and it was Finland. I forgot. You must know the guy who's pretty famous. He worked in the counter,
intelligence.
against the Nazis,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
in Finland. Do you know who I'm talking about?
Might
Number
have.
24. He had a number.
Ah,
And I
okay,
think it was 24 was
okay.
his number as a resistance fighter.
Yeah, okay.
And this guy's a Finn. You should see that movie. It's very
Yeah,
good.
what, so okay, what's the name of the movie?
I think 24.
24.
Yeah, I think that's the number they gave
Yeah,
him as
I have to check it here.
yeah.
So
So
yeah, but
yeah,
anyway,
he talks about, him and his friends all felt everything was cool. He
mm,
was, talking to a bunch of university students as an
mm,
older guy. And
mm,
he said we all thought we were okay until the minute we weren't.
yeah,
That's how it happened. He
yeah,
said only 800 German troops took
mm,
over the whole country.
yeah, yeah. That's
Yeah,
yeah.
so that's what you were talking about. It was, capitulate. So the
Capitulate. Yeah,
yeah,
yeah. There are difference between complete failure and capitulation on the demands.
yeah,
And the Russian demands they are very what Kremlin wants. They are very consistent,
yeah,
and we just have to, yeah. But the point being here that we have to, going into summer, we have to prepare for major shocks.
yeah,
We
yeah.
cannot guarantee that those will come, but you absolutely have to prepare for them. That's
Okay.
the message.
You know what'll be a real shock?
What?
When you and I have a 30-minute conversation about how wonderful things are going to become.
Yeah, I'm waiting for that to happen.
Yeah, I think we
I'm
have to
really
wait
well,
until the end of the fourth turning.
something like that. Yeah,
It's probably going to get worse before it gets better.
it
That's the
looks
way
like
it
that.
looks.
Yes, it
Yeah.
looks like that. And the most important thing is that it will get worse until people in sufficient quantities wake up and start to object this what is happening. That's how it's going to
Okay.
go.
And that'll happen when there are empty shelves and they're paying a lot for everything.
Yeah. Oh, by the way, we had the first problems with the with beef here in Finland, in Helsinki. I warned about that in 5 years ago. They are letting our farms go to hell, and so yeah, it's it's
Well,
all
they
coming
have the
down,
bird
man.
flu. They
No,
have the
no, no.
bird.
No. It's just it's been a gradual decline.
Oh, of the herd.
No, it's of the farming business.
Oh, okay.
It's a story for another thing. We are done with that time, but
Okay.
yeah, but still, it was. Yeah, there are markers everywhere, basically, that these things that are making our lives worse, they are prepared and planned for a very long time.
Yeah.
So we have to remember that too.
All right. Build a silo, everybody.
Yeah, yeah.
And not for a nuke, for your
Oh,
grain.
yeah.
So thank you, buddy. Good talking to you and catching up with you. Stay safe and get a hold of me if you ever see anything you want to talk about, and
Yeah.
we'll get you on. Okay, bro.
It's a great.
All right. So Thomas Malinen, everyone go to his it's a what page where would they go to get your work, Thomas?
Just Tuomas Malinen on geopolitics and the economy in the Google, and you find me there, or in X, just Tuomas
Yeah,
Malinen.
at
You will
MT
find me.
Malinen.
Yeah.
Okay, okay. All right. Well, thank you, buddy.
Thanks.
And everyone, count your blessings and not just pips. I hope you make some today, though. And have a great day. Uh, Thank you very much, Thomas. Check his work out. You get a European view. Donna's saying thank you, and that's going to be a wrap. Adios, everyone. See you for Turnaround Tuesday. Thanks, Thomas.
Hey traders, this is Blake Morrow with ForexAnalytix. Thanks for stopping by our YouTube channel. Don't forget to like these videos, share them, and subscribe to our channel so you don't miss any of the content that we provide here for free. Thanks for stopping by. I'll see you in the next video.